Have you ever met someone who seemed so lovely on the surface, always smiling, always saying the right things, but something deep down just didn't sit right with you? Maybe they were charming at dinner parties, polite at church, and quick with compliments. But then one day, you saw how they snapped at a waitress for getting an order wrong, or ignored someone asking for directions in the grocery store parking lot. And just like that, their mask slipped. It's strange how one tiny moment can tell us everything we need to know. The older I get, the more I realize that character isn't about how someone performs in public. It's about how they behave when they think no one's watching, or when there's nothing to gain. And if you're anything like me, you've probably gotten pretty good at spotting patterns in people by now. We've lived long enough to know that words are easy. Smiles can be fake. Promises, well, they're only as good as the person making them. That's why today I want to talk about something simple but powerful. 2 small things you can pay attention to that will reveal someone's true nature. This matters so much, especially as we get older. We don't have time to waste on shallow relationships. Whether it's new friends, caregivers, neighbors, or even family members, we need to know who we can trust and who we should keep at arm's length. And believe it or not, there are just 2 clues that can tell you almost everything you need to know about a person. They're not flashy, they're not complicated, but they are incredibly revealing. So let's sit down with a cup of coffee, or tea if that's more your thing, and talk about the first one. It starts with the way someone treats people who have nothing to offer them. I want you to think about that for a moment. We're all kind when it's easy, when we're talking to someone who can help us, praise us, or make us feel important. But how do we act when there's no reward? That's where the truth shows up. Let me give you a little story. A friend of mine, let's call her Nancy, told me she had met a man online after being widowed for several years. He was sweet, charming, had a great sense of humor. They talked for weeks before finally meeting for lunch. She was excited, hopeful even. But during their lunch, she noticed something. When the waitress made a small mistake with his order, he didn't just mention it, he scolded her. His tone changed. No warmth, no patience, just cold correction. And just like that, Nancy knew. She didn't care how kind he was to her. If that's how he treated someone he didn't think mattered, then his kindness was only conditional. And that's not the kind of man she wanted in her life. I'm sure you've had moments like that too. Maybe someone you know is perfectly lovely to your face, but you notice how they speak down to cashiers, or ignore the janitor at church, or act irritated with the pharmacy tech. Those tiny interactions say more than any grand gesture ever could. The truth is, how someone treats people who can't do anything for them, people they don't need to impress, is the purest mirror of their character. And what's beautiful is, once you start paying attention, you see it everywhere. It's in the way someone thanks the grocery clerk, or holds the door for the person behind them. It's in the way they talk to children, to elderly neighbors, or to someone who's having a hard time. There's a quiet dignity in people who treat everyone with respect. They don't do it for praise. They do it because it's who they are. That's the kind of energy I want in my life. Kindness that doesn't come with strings attached. And I'll be honest, this isn't just about looking outward. It's about looking inward too. I've caught myself before, impatient in traffic, short with someone on the phone, brushing off a stranger when I was in a rush. We all do it sometimes. But every time I notice it, I try to check myself. Because the truth is, our small, everyday actions are just as much a reflection of our own character as anyone else's. If you're trying to figure out whether someone is truly kind, don't watch how they treat you, at least not at first. Watch how they treat the delivery driver, the mail carrier, the woman cleaning the restroom. These moments are honest because they're unfiltered, and they will tell you everything you need to know. Now, I know that as women, especially those of us over 60, we've often been told to give people the benefit of the doubt, to overlook things, to be polite. And of course, kindness matters. But so does discernment. We've earned the right to protect our peace, to surround ourselves with people whose actions match their words. You deserve that kind of consistency. You know, I once heard someone say, "You don't need to be rich to be kind, and you don't need to be educated to be respectful." That stuck with me, because character doesn't require credentials. It shows up in the smallest things. A simple thank you, a moment of eye contact, a smile that says, "I see you." And if we want to feel safe and supported in our relationships, especially at this stage in life, we need to trust that the people around us are the same behind closed doors as they are in public. Because what good is a charming friend or partner if they turn cold the moment they feel inconvenienced? It's not about perfection. We all have bad days. But there's a difference between someone who slips up once in a while and someone who's only kind when it benefits them. One is human, the other is a performance. So as you go about your day, maybe running errands, chatting with neighbors, or even scrolling through your phone, just start noticing. Not judging, but observing. Ask yourself, how does this person treat people who can't give them anything back? That question alone can reveal more than hours of conversation ever could. And if you find yourself wondering whether someone is truly good-hearted, don't listen to their words. Watch their actions when they think it doesn't matter, because that's when it matters most. Let's take a breath here and reflect. This first clue, how someone treats those who can't repay them, is simple, but it's powerful. And the moment you start noticing it, the clearer things become. You'll start to feel more grounded in your own choices, more confident about the people you let into your circle, and most importantly, more connected to your own values. Now that we've taken a deep look at this first powerful sign, let's keep going. There's one more clue that can change everything about how you understand people, and even how you understand yourself. Because once you start seeing people through that lens, something shifts. You begin to feel more in tune with your instincts and less confused by appearances. But there's still one more piece to this puzzle, one more way to truly understand who someone is at their core. It has to do with promises, simple ones, the kind that seem small at first, but speak volumes over time. Think for a moment about all the promises people make in daily life. "I'll call you tomorrow." "Let's get together soon." "Don't worry, I'll take care of that." These aren't grand declarations. They're everyday commitments. But how often are they actually kept? The truth is, keeping your word, no matter how small the promise, is one of the clearest signs of a person's character. Anyone can say the right things, but following through, that takes integrity. It takes effort. And most of all, it shows respect. Not just for you, but for themselves. I remember talking with a woman at church. Her name was Diane, who shared a story that stuck with me. Her neighbor had promised to help her fix a small fence after a storm. Nothing major, just a few loose boards. He seemed sincere when he said it. But week after week went by, and nothing happened. She didn't want to bother him, so she stayed quiet. But it wasn't about the fence. It was about the feeling of being forgotten, of someone making a promise and not even thinking twice about breaking it. That's the part that hurts. Not the broken fence, but the broken trust. And it goes both ways, doesn't it? Think about how you feel when someone actually does what they say they're going to do. Even if it's just showing up on time or remembering a small request, it means something. It tells you they care. It tells you you're seen. And that kind of consistency is rare. But when you find it, hold on to it. That's why, when I meet someone new, or even when I'm reassessing someone I've known for years, I pay close attention to this one thing. Do their actions match their words? Let's say someone says they'll drop something off for you on Friday, and they do. Maybe they didn't feel like it, maybe it wasn't convenient, but they honored their word. That's character. It's not about perfection, it's about effort. Even if something comes up and they can't follow through, do they let you know? Do they take responsibility? Or do they just disappear and hope you forget? When someone breaks a promise and brushes it off like it never mattered, that tells you exactly how much your time, your trust, and your feelings mean to them. And I don't know about you, but at this stage of life, I don't have the energy for one-sided relationships. I want mutual respect. I want people in my circle who mean what they say and say what they mean. Psychologists say that broken promises affect our sense of security because trust, once shaken, takes time to rebuild. And sometimes it never fully comes back. That's why even the little things matter, because they build or break something much bigger. And it's not just about other people. We have to look at ourselves too. How often do we make promises to others or to ourselves and let them slide? How many times have we said, "I'll start walking every morning," or "I'm going to call my cousin this weekend," or "I'm done saying yes to things I don't want to do"? But then we slip back into old patterns? And listen, this isn't about guilt. We're human. Life happens. But the more we keep the promises we make to ourselves, the stronger we become. Every time you follow through, even in the smallest way, you're reminding yourself, "I can count on me." There's something powerful about that kind of self-trust. It shows up in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, and in the boundaries you set with others. People notice. They see that you're not just blowing smoke. You live in alignment with your values. And that inspires respect. I've also noticed that people who don't keep their word often have a pattern of blaming others, making excuses, or pretending the promise was never made in the first place. But people with integrity, they don't have to be perfect. They just take ownership. They'll say, "I'm so sorry I missed that. Can I make it right?" And when you hear that, you know you're dealing with someone real. You might be wondering, but what about people who overpromise because they have good intentions? And that's fair. Some folks say yes to everything because they're people pleasers. They don't want to disappoint anyone, so they make too many commitments and end up dropping the ball. That might not come from a bad place, but it still causes harm. And at the end of the day, a broken promise is a broken promise, no matter how well-meaning. That's why it's better to be realistic than overly agreeable. A person who says, "Let me check my schedule before I commit," or "I want to help, but I'm not sure I can," that's honesty. That's maturity. That's someone who respects your time and their own. So next time you're unsure about someone, whether it's a new friend, a potential partner, or even a family member who's been distant, watch what they do with their promises. Not the big showy ones, the small ones, the everyday ones. Do they call when they say they will? Do they follow through on little things, like showing up for lunch or remembering a birthday? If they do, chances are they're reliable in bigger ways too. But if their words and actions are always out of sync, it might be time to ask yourself whether they're someone you can truly count on. And if you've been hurt by broken promises in the past, I want you to know you're not alone. We've all been there. The important thing is learning to recognize the signs and protect our hearts going forward. It's not about holding grudges. It's about setting boundaries that honor our time, our trust, and our worth. As we grow older, we begin to realize that peace is more important than pleasing. And trust? It's a precious thing. Hard to earn, easy to lose. So whether you're choosing friends, caregivers, or even reconnecting with old family, let these two signs, how they treat others and how they keep promises, be your guide. Let's take a moment to breathe that in. Not everyone will meet those standards. And that's okay. But when someone does, you'll feel it. You'll know you're in the presence of someone grounded, genuine, and emotionally mature. And that kind of person? They're worth their weight in gold. Because that's really what this is all about. Not just recognizing character in others, but embodying it in ourselves. We can't control how other people show up, but we can absolutely choose how we do. And the truth is, character isn't about grand gestures or fancy words. It's about consistency, about showing up for the people we care about. about being kind even when no one's watching, about doing what we say we'll do even when it's inconvenient. And maybe, more than anything, it's about creating a life that feels honest. A life where our values aren't just things we talk about, but things we live day in and day out. I think one of the quiet joys of growing older is that we've lived enough years to stop pretending. We know what matters. We don't need the spotlight. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. We just want peace, connection, and to surround ourselves with people who treat us and others with dignity. That's the beauty of these two signs we've talked about. They're not just ways to judge others. They're invitations to live more deeply ourselves. Because when we start treating everyone with kindness, regardless of what they can or can't do for us, we begin to feel more grounded. There's a lightness that comes with not needing to keep score. Holding the door open, smiling at someone who looks tired, saying thank you with sincerity, it doesn't just help others feel seen. It helps us feel like we're part of something meaningful, like we're still offering something beautiful to the world, no matter our age. And when we commit to keeping our word, even the small promises, even just to ourselves, we build trust from the inside out. We start to believe in our own strength again. Maybe it's following through on a morning walk, or finally making that long postponed phone call, or taking the quiet time we promised ourselves but kept putting off. Every time we do, we reinforce a message deep inside. I am dependable. I am enough. I am still growing. There's no age limit on integrity. And there's no expiration date on being a good human being. In fact, I think the older we get, the more powerful these qualities become. We've been through so much. We've loved and lost. We've been disappointed and surprised. We've endured heartache and held joy. And through it all, the people who leave a mark on our hearts aren't the ones who dazzled us with charm. They're the ones who were there when we needed them. The ones who stayed kind. The ones who kept their promises. So today, if you're feeling a little unsure about someone in your life, a neighbor who seems sweet but something feels off, a caregiver who's polite but distant, a new friend who always talks but never follows through, just pause. Watch. Don't rush to judgment, but don't ignore your gut either. Let their actions reveal their truth. And if you're feeling a little disappointed in yourself lately, maybe you've been short-tempered, or forgot a promise, or brushed someone off, it's never too late to realign. Character isn't about being perfect. It's about trying again. It's about recognizing when we've slipped and gently choosing better next time. That, my friend, is what real strength looks like. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're thriving in a season of peace or navigating a season of change, remember this: the way we treat others matters. The promises we make and keep matter. And both are reflections of who we truly are. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be young to be respected. You don't need to have all the answers to be wise. You just need to live with intention, with compassion, and with the kind of quiet courage that says, "This is who I am, and I'm proud of it." If this video has reminded you of someone in your life, a person who lives with integrity, who treats others with kindness, who always shows up, reach out to them. Let them know they're seen and appreciated. Sometimes we forget to tell people how much their steady presence means. And if this message spoke to you in a personal way, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Have you ever had a moment when someone's true character surprised you, good or bad? Or maybe a time when you chose to do the right thing even though it wasn't easy? Your stories inspire others more than you know. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up so more women like you can find it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Every week we share insights to help you grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Because you deserve that. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve relationships that are real. And you deserve to trust your heart, your eyes, and your own beautiful, hard-earned wisdom. Here's to living with kindness, to following through, to keeping your circle full of people who reflect the same light you bring into the world. And here's to you, living your truest, fullest, and most beautiful life at every age. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take good care of your heart. You've earned it.